What's up, everyone? Today our Twilight Zone review marathon continues. We'll be discussing another fan favorite, It's a Good Life. Yep, the one with the creepy kid. So, think good thoughts or your ass is going to the cornfield. Please note, spoilers are ahead for It's a Good Life, as well as the sequel, It's Still a Good Life. It's a Good Life is based on Jerome Bixby's short story of the same name. The story was first published in the 1953 collection Star Science Fiction Stories No. 2. The story was adapted for television by Rod Serling. This is episode 8 from season 3 of Twilight Zone. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into this hellish tale. Rod Serling opened the show looking like the coolest teacher in the universe. Standing in front of a map of the United States, he pointed out a doomed town, Peaksville, Ohio. He noted that not long ago, the rest of the world disappeared, and only Peaksville remained. The people of Peaksville were clueless as to what happened to everyone else, but they knew exactly who was responsible. Enter the monster, 6-year-old Anthony Fremont. Just by using his mind, Anthony took away automobiles, electricity, machines, basically any modern technology that got on his nerves. The result was an entire community knocked ass backward into the Stone Age. This is where scarcity of goods and necessities come into play, but we'll come back to that. Aside from the return to the Stone Age, what's far worse is Anthony's treatment of the people of Peaksville. As the episode unfolds, we learn that Anthony is nothing more than a short, freckled, highly dangerous mutant terror. He absolutely demands you think only happy thoughts. He can read minds, and he can feel every emotion. So, happy thoughts, happy thoughts, happy thoughts. Throughout this entire episode, everyone does their best to keep smiles painfully plastered to their faces, so Anthony doesn't obliterate them from existence.
I was just wondering what you were doing.
I made a gopher with 3 heads. See him?
Yeah, he's a real fine one. I ain't never seen a gopher with 3 heads before.
I'll make him dead now. I'm tired of playing with him. Be dead. Gopher, you be dead.
Mama, it's real fine that you done that.
I found it interesting that the common Twilight Zone twist came early on. We were told up front who the monster is, and the immense power he holds. The kid can do it all. He can create a twisted new light form and then destroy it at a whim. The first half of the episode shows us the day-to-day horror that's forced upon the people of this small village. The solid supporting cast of terrified inhabitants includes Anthony's parents, Mr. Fremont, as played by John Larch, and Mrs. Fremont, as played by Cloris Leachman. We're also introduced to Aunt Amy, as played by Alice Frost. Apparently, Aunt Amy at one time had some control over Anthony. Unfortunately, one day she slipped up. And by slipped up, I mean she began to sing out loud. Since Anthony doesn't like singing, he snapped and reduced her to a vacant, mumbling shell of a person. To her credit, we still see faint signs of her old self. She goes against the grain and complains about it being hot, or she openly longs for the old days. This, of course, is a no-no. Remember, happy thoughts only. Everyone else, however, remains in a tragic and constant state of terror, doomed to walk on eggshells, in constant fear of being sent to the cornfield, or turned inside out by this tantrum-prone monster. The real centerpiece for this episode is the surprise birthday party for Dan Hollis, as played by Don Kiefer, which coincides with Anthony's TV night. And what a TV night it was. This is an amazing scene, non-stop tension from beginning to end. It's here that we really learn that scarcity is starting to affect people of Peaksville. Ultimately, it's the notion that they're now nearing the end of their supply of alcohol that triggers Dan Hollis. I mean, how else would most people even survive this type of a life without being shit-faced? As Dan gets more drunk, he builds up the courage to confront Anthony. He tries to start his own little revolt against the child dictator. He essentially sacrifices himself in the hopes that someone else will kill Anthony while he's distracted. This is actually one of my favorite performances in the entire episode. Aside from Aunt Amy, who begrudgingly backs down, nobody has enough courage to end Anthony. His punishment of Dan Hollis is swift and horrific. Dan Hollis is turned into a human jack-in-a-box, then wished away into the cornfield. You'd think that murdering a neighbor on his birthday would prompt an all-out uprising. Nope. The music plays on, the grieving widow is escorted upstairs and out of the way, and Anthony simply caps things off by making it snow. This, of course, prompts his dad to step in and mention how snow will ruin the crops, only to stop short and once again give in to his son. It's a Good Life teases the viewer with the long overdue revolt. from the adults of Peaksville, a revolt that never comes. This episode begs the question, what's the point of life when quality is in a toilet, and you live only to please a monster? Anthony is not shown to have any redeeming values. He's a murderer. He's killed Dan Hollis, he's sent the neighbor's kids into the cornfield, he's killed animals. Like a baby Terminator, he can't be bargained with, he can't be reasoned with, he doesn't feel pity, remorse, or fear. He is indeed a monster. That much is as black and white as the show itself. Throughout the years, many have interpreted this episode in a variety of ways. Some suggest Anthony's character serves as a warning to parents to not spoil their children and give in to their every whim. Otherwise, you could create a narcissistic disaster of a person that the rest of the world will have to contend with. Others suggest Anthony represents any number of historical dictators. For all intents and purposes, he is a tyrant. His rule does lead to a horrific life for the people of Peaksville. Also, because of Anthony's reign, there's a growing scarcity of basic necessities, as is often seen in countries under the thumb of a dictator. As the expression goes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. No matter what age, but especially freckle-faced kids. I'm not sure where I stand on this, but I do lean toward the dictator metaphor. I also think one of the reasons this episode is disturbing is because at a basic level, the premise of a child with godlike powers completely turns the parent-child dynamic on its head. It is abnormal. In all of nature and across all species, it's the parents who bring the child into the world. The parents then raise the child, feed it, teach it, protect it. But to do all this, parents must maintain authority and control. Here, the parents and whatever's left of the decimated community have zero power, no control. Instead, an imbalanced, immature child is running the show. So of course, life has become a living nightmare. The natural order of things has been upset. Lots of interesting interpretations. What was Rod's closing take on the matter? No comment. No comment at all. So as you can see, even Serling was fine with leaving this one open to interpretation. If you enjoyed this episode of Twilight Zone, I recommend checking out the remade segment from the 1983 Twilight Zone movie, which is an interesting alternate take on this unique story. I also recommend checking out the 2002 Twilight Zone Revival series sequel episode, It's Still a Good Life, which starred grown-up Bill Mumy. Wondering how little Anthony turned out? Well, as we all know, when the world bends over and gives in to the whims of a monstrous child with godlike powers, naturally, that child will grow up healthy and balanced. Just kidding, adult Anthony set someone on fire within the first few minutes of the episode.